We are live. All right, sports update. Adrian Reid was good.
Was good.
Yeah, everybody got their red on. So in the spirit of that, we're gonna go ahead and start off with the Wings, man. We want to kick it off with the Wings. So the Wings, they snapped a 5-game losing streak last night. Beat Buffalo, high scoring game, chippy game, lot of fights. Currently three games out of the wild card. They did add Peter Mrazek at the trade deadline. Has some depth at a position that they needed at goalie. So Reid, where you at with this Wings team? And if they end up missing the playoffs, is it time to put Stevie Y on that hot seat?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, like, I don't know what his thought process was going into the trade deadline because they obviously needed a backup. They needed another center after you lost, Andrew Kopp and a few other guys went down with injuries. You traded away Husso. You offloaded Husso's contract to get rid of $4 million. You trade away Joe Veleno, who's a decent center. He's obviously a fourth-line guy, but he's a decent center. You get back an old center and a goalie who is probably one of the worst goalies in the NHL for save percentage this year. His contract is $4.5 million. You picked up a 36-year-old center it is what it is. I mean, he's probably just as good as Veleno. I wish I would have seen, I said, I don't know if I texted you guys about it, but I sent it in a group chat with a couple of my other friends. I said the Red Wings are going to lose because Dylan Cousins is going to score from Ottawa when they played Ottawa, and 2 ex-Red Wings score and they lose that game. David Perron scores in the first period, and then Dylan Cousins scores in the third to close it out. So I knew something like that was going to happen.
Cousins is the kid from Oxford?
Yeah, but he was on Buffalo, but not 2 former Red Wings. He could have been a Red Wing, I meant to say. But Perron was a former Red Wing. Yeah, Cousins, I think, was from Oxford or somewhere. He's from somewhere around here. But, I just think he could have done more at the deadline. If they don't make the playoffs, yeah, I would say he probably is in the hot seat, but I would also be like, maybe if they fired Lalonde, a month sooner or something, maybe we'd be having a different conversation. But for right now, yeah, I'd probably put him on the hot seat. Hockey's like baseball. You can't rely on your draft picks to come up. They're not going to save you. It's not football. They're not going to be up immediately. You have a couple of years before they come up. So, Danielson, I don't think is anywhere close. They have Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's killing it in the Swedish league right now, but I'm sure they still want him in Grand Rapids for 1 year. He's a defenseman. He's a little shorter defenseman, but he can score. It's just tough. You're going to lose Kane soon. He's older. You got to, figure out what you're going to do with the DeBrincat extension when that comes around. You definitely need a goalie. I don't know why Kosa hasn't been called up. If you lose I would say if you lose probably 2 to 3 more games, call Kosa up and just see what you have because you're probably not going to make the playoffs in that. I think you could get hot. They just scored 7 goals yesterday against a bad Buffalo team. So we'll see. I just think the writing's kind of on the wall for this team for this year. I think it's already over. It's going to be hard to go on another run like they did earlier in the year.
They finally, I know, scored 7 goals last night, snapped a long losing skid, but it's the same story over and over again. Last couple of years continue to fade as the season goes along, and they keep doing it. Stevie Y wants to make no move. I don't get it. Every GM in this town has done better than him thus far. Look at the Pistons right now. They had the chance to have the biggest turnaround in NBA history right now. Trajan Langdon took over a hot mess, and they're still trying to build out of it, but playing well. Look what, as much as we give, the Illich family, the Tigers made the playoffs surprisingly last year, and they had the #1 farm system in the MLB. On the Lions, we see what they've done with Brad Holmes and company, but just no excuses. We're in year 6, and they are struggling to make the playoffs in a historically good franchise, and they've been bad for the last 10, 11 years. The last time they were good, we were like fresh out of high school pretty much. So it's terrible. And then the schedule they have, it's a gauntlet. You blew some of these games you should have won. Utah the other night, that was a terrible loss. They lost bad. The game the other night, the goal was called back. But look at the schedule. They play the Hurricanes tomorrow, and they play the Golden Knights, and they travel to Washington to play the Capitals. Then travel to the Golden Knights. Then the Utah, Colorado, the Senators, the Bruins. All these teams are All these teams are right where they are above them. So it's a gauntlet to finish the month of March. So I don't think they're gonna do it. Just like I said, no excuses. He should be on the hot seat. I was done with this team weeks ago. He hasn't showed me nothing, and at the trade line didn't show you anything. There's just excuse after excuse. I mean, I'm just sick of it. There's no excuses, man. Look what Washington's done. They're one of the worst teams in the league last year. Now they're first in the East, and Alzo Ovechkin's gonna break this Gretzky record. I'm looking forward to it. But it's just there's ways to do it and there's ways around it. And Stevie Y just keeps using excuses. I know he played here, but at what point do you have to hold him accountable? No excuses, man.
So Adrian, you consider Stevie Y the worst GM here out of all the sports teams?
Currently, as we stand, yes.
Okay.
I would say I would have to agree with him, unfortunately. I mean, I think the talent that he's drafted has been really good. I just think that the product on the ice has not been great. So it's like, it could end up being like a situation where, maybe he gets fired and then a year, 2 years down let's say he gets fired next year and then 2 years down the road from that. So 3 years from now, I mean, all those rookies that he drafted could be stars and it could be great. So you just don't know. I heard something the other day that I think the time it was just before they got excited. Maybe it was the 80s when they had the dead wing period and they were one of the worst franchises in Detroit and they were horrible and they were basically giving away cars for people to come and watch the games. And that was when they were playing at Olympia. So I think it was the 80s. And yeah, they're worse than that team was back in the day. And for some reason people are still going. The losing streak is longer than that, the dead wing period. So something's got to give. I mean, I'm willing to potentially see what he does in the offseason. But I mean, if you don't do anything in the offseason that, excites me, or you don't, get one of these goalies up that you drafted so high for, I just think that, your time's probably up. And I don't think there's any more you can do to make Red Wings fans happy unless you bring a cup to this team.
Yeah, they picked a horrible time to go on a 5-game losing streak, just slowly going away from that wild card. So, yeah, this homestand, you got these next couple games, got to win these games, must-win games right here. So we'll see ultimately how it unfolds. But yeah, we want to see the Wings trend in the right direction, man. I want to see Stevie Y win. All right, so I want to let's switch over to college basketball. So the conference tournament started today, been very exciting. So Adrian, Michigan State does play tomorrow. They play against Oregon. So is it Final Four or bust for this Michigan State team? If they don't make the Final Four, is the season a failure?
I absolutely 100% think it's Final Four or bust. No, they talked about, you guys know I'm the resident college basketball guy, but SEC has been absolutely dominant in college basketball this season. But Michigan State has came along, and I believe they're playing their best basketball of the season. And they picked the right time to play their best basketball. I don't think they win the Big Ten tournament because Tom Izzo doesn't really care about that. I think he'd rather them lose early in the Big Ten tournament and then still have motivation to be like, all right, guys, we gotta pedal to the metal, and now it's time to play some games. But I think the emergence of Jace Richardson coming along and everybody else playing well, they're just a physical team. They make you play their brand of basketball. They're not a great shooting three-point team whatsoever, but lately they just been hitting threes and coming in clutch at the right time. But I would say this is Final Four or bust for Tom Izzo, no doubt about it, because you may not, like I said, get Jace Richardson back, as I do think he should come back for his sophomore year, but you have to take advantage of the time you got now, because we know it's in college basketball, it changes in the blink of eye. Same thing with college football, and this NIL, the transfer portal, all those sorts of things. But I think they have a team that can absolutely do it.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I honestly think Michigan State always kind of has good teams, but this team seems, for some reason, they seem different. They seem a little more bulldogish. They're great defensively. Like Adrian said, they can't really shoot the three great, but since Jace came in, he's been shooting the three well. Aiken shoots the three well. I mean, they have some guards that can shoot. Obviously, Holloman can make threes. He's just not very consistent at it, but he seems to hit those threes that are, he hit that half-court shot, which, call it luck or what. I mean, he still hit it, and he's hit some big threes in the regular season. So I think it all really just comes down to, I mean, Jace and Jaden, if they can play well, their big guy rotation is pretty good. I think, Final Four bust is for sure accurate. I don't know what, obviously what bracket they're going to be put in and what the other competition is going to be, but a lot of these lower teams, or these other division teams probably shouldn't scare you all that much unless they're coming out of the SEC, like Adrian said. Like, even I don't think the ACC is like any teams that make it would be too scary. Other than Duke, obviously. Got to see what happens with Cooper Flag, but I don't think the ACC is anything to be scared of. So yeah, you're really just looking for the SEC, and hopefully you don't have one of those, Bulldogs that are really hungry to make it to the Sweet 16 or something like that, and they end up knocking you out early in the first 2 rounds. But we'll see. I think that this team has everything, all the capabilities to make it to the Final Four.
Okay, so if Jace Richardson, if they do get to the Final Four and Jace Richardson is their best player, you think he leaves? You think it's a no-brainer?
In that case, absolutely. But I would hope that they can find a way to get him back. They got the NIL funds. We know the owner Matt Ishbia owns the Suns, so they got a good donor system out there. But keep in mind that the Big Ten has not won a national title in basketball since 2000. If you think about that, that is an absolutely insane stat. And now Tom Izzo was the last to do it.
That's crazy.
That's that.
25,
that stat.
25 years.
Fake. It's not
talk about that. Like, everybody talks about how great Izzo is, which I think he is a great coach, but like, you don't talk about, like, yeah, he wins a lot, but like, dude, he doesn't win national championships. And everybody always talks about how national championships matter, and he hasn't won one in 25 years. It's like, you would think about like any other sport, like let's say like, I mean, if you just think about like, let's say Nick Saban was the way, like he didn't win all those national championships. Let's say he just made it to, a few playoff games and then he would lose. Like, you wouldn't be talking about Nick Saban as good as he is because, you win national championships. That's what makes you good. Like, or like, maybe like Calipari, like he doesn't, strike you as a guy who's won a bunch, but, he had good teams. And I mean, Coach K obviously has won a bunch, but like those guys like won. And Izzo hasn't done it in 25 years. So it's like, you think, I mean, look at Dan Hurley. He's won, 2 national championships?
Yeah, 2 in a row. He's a nutcase, and I love it.
Yeah, and it's like, I mean, some people would say that Izzo's a better coach than him, but he's won 2 national championships, and you kind of just look at it like that. Like, I think Izzo's a little bit better coach, but just because of his tenure. But Hurley can put his resume on the table and say, I've won 2 national championships, So I think he should have to do it. I think he should, no doubt about in my mind that he's got to coach these kids to get to a Final Four.
Yeah. I think he needs that second national championship for his legacy. Like, don't get me wrong, he's an all-time great. Yeah. He's a Hall of Famer, but I think I think that second championship will really solidify him amongst the elite
reminds me of a guy like Bill Self, Kansas' coach. He had that one title with the Mario Chalmers team. And then he finally, a few years ago, unfortunately beats my Carolina Tar Heels in the national championship game, overcoming a 20-point lead. But secures his second national title. I think that really affirms him as an elite coach. Tom Izzo gets that. There's nothing anybody can say, but we need it because that proves he did it in the 2000s when we were kids, pretty much elementary school. Now he's doing it in the modern era, and that will give more to his point of proving to people that, hey, we talked about him being very stubborn, not willing to change. He's adapted a little bit. He's kind of in the mold of like a Dabo Swinney in terms of, NIL and the transfer portal. And he's starting to kind of let up a little bit and realizing he has to make a little adjustment. He doesn't have to give everything up, but he has to realize like I have to make some sacrifices if we want to continue to be competitive in this landscape. So I will give him kudos and applaud him for that. But get to the Final Four and then we can come back to this conversation. But he wins another one that will leave him in a great stature with coaches with multiple national titles. So especially now with, like I said, the NIL and the portal era, I think it's a lot more difficult.
I find this a little interesting. So we all know that Jace has a brother, Jackson, that's he's not until the class of 26, but he doesn't have an offer from Michigan State. But 4 other Big Ten schools have offered him. Maryland, Michigan, USC, and Washington have all offered him to come play there. But no, obviously that could change. And then Florida and Georgia have also, and Bama have all offered him as well. But I mean, that can obviously change. He's class of 26. They got time for that. But you would think that they would have offered him already. Obviously, I don't think Jace is going to stay that long. But
I would have thought this.
Yeah, wasn't Jason Richardson on that 2000 Michigan State national championship team?
Yeah. Yes, he was.
Mm-hmm.
Then, so if they want to just isn't Jace related to him?
Yeah, Jace Richardson is Jason Richardson's son, and same with Jackson Richardson. Jackson Richardson's the one who Jason Richardson had with Steve Nash's ex-wife.
Oh, okay. So if State wins it all this year, that'd be crazy. 2000. Then the
25
first
years later, yeah.
25 years later, yeah, that'd be crazy right there.
Real quick, I got some news for the Florida State guy of the group. I don't know if you heard about this. Obviously Leonard Hamilton's retiring. They found their guy, Luke Locks, a former player at Florida State, Sacramento Kings assistant coach for the last few years. So they hired the guy as a former player there. I don't know what year he was there. Let's see.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But yeah, he's worked with Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Draymond, Clay, DeMar DeRozan, Fox, Bonus. So he's a pretty good guy. He was part of the Warriors coaching staff when they went back-to-back rings.
Okay, I like that.
So
he was like some Curry, Atkinson, all those guys. So okay, I mean, I'll take it. I mean, they need to recruit. They don't have anybody. They don't have any like stars that are coming.
I do not remember him at Florida State, but
what year did it say? He
turned him in 2012 after leading Florida State to their first ACC tournament in 2012. He's number 4 all time in 136 games played at Florida State. He ranks 10th in history in the Florida State history with 396.
Damn. Okay. I don't really remember him, to be honest with you, either. But 2012, I probably wasn't paying too much attention to Florida State basketball because I was more or less paying attention to their football.
Yeah. I wasn't. That was in their heyday though. Those mid to late 2000s are really good. So, but for some reason I don't remember him as a player. But I think it's good because he's a younger guy, so he can help. He's coach some stars, so he can get guys there. They've been able to secure talent. Reid. They just Leonard Hamilton just is old and just stopped caring.
He's coming from winning culture, so I'll take it. I mean, if Knowles basketball can get back into a little bit of relevancy and at least make it back into the tournament, I'll start watching more. But the product has been so bad since Scotty Barnes left, and even then it wasn't great. But they were in the tournament at least, so I haven't watched it since Scotty was on the team. So
maybe they can get Jason's little brother over there.
That'd be sweet.
Yeah. So Adrian, we got the rematch, Carolina and Duke tomorrow. Carolina obviously just lost Saturday, a game that they was close in that first half. Then Duke took off on them. So can North Carolina pull this upset off?
They absolutely can pull this game off tomorrow. Especially there's most of all unlikely. I'm 99% sure Cooper Flagg will not be playing tomorrow because he sprained his ankle really bad today against Georgia Tech. They played today.
Yeah. He was
going a baseline for like a dunk, and he came down, and his foot landed on the guy's, or his ankle landed on the guy's foot before he could plant it. So he's in a wheelchair. He said it was pretty swollen. So I think they're just hoping that they can get him ready for the tournament next week. But it didn't look like a good ankle sprain. It looked like one of them nasty ones. As much as I hate Duke, I wish him nothing but the best and hope he gets back to healthy, because even if he doesn't play, I don't want to hear any excuses from the Duke fans of why they couldn't win a national title. Mind you, they still have a really, really good team, even without Cooper Flagg, but he just adds to the top where they're really elite. They're almost impossible to stop. But I definitely do think Carolina has a chance to win this game, and their tournament lives are on the line right now. As I looked earlier, they were pretty much on that bubble, like the third or fourth to last team in, so they're teeter-tottering, so they can breathe a little bit, but I would feel a lot more comfortable if they could win this game. Now college basketball resume thing is weird, so they do the quad win, so 1, 2, 3, 4, so those quad win ones matter more against bigger teams. Carolina is 1-10 in those, or 1-11 in those games. No team has ever made the tournament with only one quad win, so this one would give them 2. So I think this is very pivotal that they win this game. I'm pretty sure they're in, but I need teams like Boise. I need Boise State to lose tonight to Colorado State. Xavier did me a favor and lost today. So did Arkansas. Thank you very much. Texas keeps winning, which is frightening me. They just beat Texas A&M in double overtime. So there needs to be some things that fall Carolina's way, but they just win this game tomorrow, I'm going to feel very, very comfortable with them getting into the tournament, because like I talked to you guys before, Hubert Davis cannot be at Carolina missing the tournament. It's unacceptable, and it's I don't want to go on my rant and lose my mind, but just unacceptable for us to not have any center or power forward with length. So
yeah. So Reid, how far do you think Duke can go without Cooper Flagg?
I mean, like Adrian said, they still have the talent. They got that one kid, Knipple. Yeah, that kid can rip some threes. Their center whose name I can't remember is pretty good.
Malo Ouch.
Yeah, that guy's. I could never get that if you even paid me. He's pretty solid. I mean, I watched a few Duke games just because I would always bet on them and like they're over or the spread, like 22.5. Today I had 22.5 and then Cooper Flag went down. But I've won a few other bets before. So I mean, yeah, they're still a well-rounded team. I mean, they're like North Carolina. They get all the talent, that the world can offer you, especially being Duke. You're basically the Bama of college basketball. So. Where it can, like football. So, yeah, I mean, I think they could definitely go far. I mean, I don't know if I would see him win a national championship, but I could see, like, Cooper Flag will probably be back for the tournament. If you're saying no Cooper Flag, I would see, like, Elite Eight possibility. I definitely think they could do something along those lines. I think that would probably be their ceiling, would probably be Elite Eight. I don't think they would make it past that, though.
Okay, cool. And I know Michigan plays tomorrow. Adrian, who does Michigan play the winner of tonight?
Let me double. I think the winner of the USC.
It's Illinois, isn't it? Illinois.
Is it the USC Purdue game or is it the Illinois game?
Let me double.
Whoever's ranked higher between Illinois and Purdue, right? What Purdue I think is a 20 and Illinois is 23.
Yeah, Illinois is 24. Purdue's at 20.
So then they probably play Purdue. If I had to guess.
Yeah, I think Purdue's going to beat USC tonight. So,
okay, Michigan will play the winner. Yeah, they played the winner of. Yeah, they play the winner of the Purdue game.
Yeah, that's what I figured because they're the higher seeded team.
Yeah, should be Purdue. I'm expecting Purdue to win that game tonight. Brady Smith. If y'all haven't yet, I'd slap him on a parlay points and assists. All right. So, yeah, let's get some NBA in here. So Adrian, the Cavs currently 55-10. They got the best record in the NBA. They're on a 15-game winning streak. They're number one in the East. So, do you look at the Cavs as legit contenders to come out the East, or are you still not counting out Boston?
No, I still think Boston's a favorite in the East, but if Cleveland ended up getting to the NBA Finals, it wouldn't shock me in the slightest bit. I think the addition of JB, shout out to JB Bickerstaff. Probably get to him in a minute. Pistons coach, now former Cavs coach. I just think time ran its course, and he did a great job of developing those players. But they needed a coach who was going to take these group of guys in their prime to the next level, and he's done that. I think they learned from their loss last year to Boston in the playoffs. They've gotten much better. I think the biggest factor has been the emergence of finally. I wanted the Pistons to draft him when he was in the draft, but Evan Mobley. Probably going to win Defensive Player of the Year. He's had a great season. Donovan Mitchell continues to play well. Darius Garland plays well. It's great that Cleveland's backcourt works the way it does because they're both smaller guards, like we talked about before. Kind of reminds me of like a better CJ Dame duo combined together. They play a lot better together. But just having Jared Allen, DeAndre Hunter, they just have a lot of length, depth. They can do everything. I think I will not be surprised in the slightest. Like I said, if Cleveland makes the NBA Finals, I think they had the best team they've had since LeBron's last year in Cleveland when they made the finals. So don't count Cleveland out.
Yeah. What Atkinson? I can't think of his first name. I just keep wanting
Kenny
to say
Atkinson. Yeah.
Kenny Atkinson. I wanted to say Chucky, but that was former Piston.
Shout out Chucky.
I have Chucky Atkinson's autograph. Well, it's actually my brother's, but I have Chucky Atkinson's autograph on a basketball in my basement, along with Chuck Daly too. But yeah, the Cavs definitely could make it for sure. Like Adrian said, they have Garland, Mobley. I was not a guy who wanted to draft Mobley over Cade, but that's Adrian's prerogative that he can.
I don't regret it. It's just a guy I was really high on. So
Yeah, no, I hear you. I mean, he's definitely great. So, yeah, I mean, I think they can. I still just think Boston is the deeper team. I think I would have Boston coming out of it again. I mean, Tatum's still playing well as long as Jaylen Brown, sticks around, plays healthy. Pritchard is up for a sixth man of the year. Derek White is playing really well. I mean, your problem really that lies there is how would you take care of the big men that are down low for Cleveland if they play them, because Porzingis can either get hurt and they don't really have a great backup. So yeah, I mean, yeah, he's the 75-year-old center, but power forward basically. But yeah, I mean, Cleveland definitely could do it because, like Adrian said, they're young, they have the talent. I just think I like Boston a little bit more just because the way that they play and the depth that they have on the team.
Yeah, seems like Boston and Cleveland are on a collision course there for the Eastern Conference Finals. So, but a team that might be in the mix, the Pistons. Pistons currently down to the Wizards. So Reid, what's state of the Pistons right now?
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It is the Wizards. The Wizards are probably just like playing with their hair on fire. The Pistons have been down a lot of times.
Jordan Poole.
Yeah, the Pistons have been down a lot of times at the half. They come back and they win. I'm not scared of the Wizards right now. They're the 6th seed and they have more wins than Milwaukee and Indiana right now. It's just they've lost to Milwaukee and Indiana more in the conference, so they are lower than them. But Milwaukee is up 61-52 on the Lakers. The Lakers were within 5, but
no LeBron James.
Yeah, but they got Luka still in there. I mean, they could come back. Milwaukee's on a 3-game losing streak, I believe, aren't they?
Yeah, did you see how they lost the other night on that Tyrese Halliburton 4-point play?
Yeah, somebody made a meme and it said Tyrese Halliburton with Giannis in his face and Darvin Ham with his hand in his pockets because Darvin Ham was just standing there with his hands in the pockets on the sideline. But yeah, I think I mean Pistons could potentially make some noise. I mean, I know that they not really blew them out, but they played well against Washington the other day. They played well against the Clippers. I think the Pistons can definitely make some noise. It just depends on, play smart. I mean, Beef Stew has been doing a lot better with walking away from confrontation when it happens. There was the Market Smart thing the other day. It just play smart. He did get a tech. I think Asar maybe got one in that game too.
I think Ron got one.
Yeah, one of them got one. But yeah, just play smarter basketball. But I definitely think that they can do it, man. They're a young team. Like Adrian said, shout out JB. He had the young Cavs. Now he has the young Pistons. I hope that he's a guy that can take them to the next level even after this and not just, be a guy who develops.
Booker.
Yeah. They were talking about on the ticket the other day, would you trade 4 first-round picks and Jaden Ivey for Devin Booker? And I hate to say it. I probably would do that. Like, I was saying it, like, I hate, you fall in love with the players that are on your team because you like them and you want, you draft them. But if you can get Devin Booker and Cade on the same team, that would be – and he seems like he wants to be here. So I would do it in a heartbeat because I really don't like value – especially if your team is making the playoffs. I don't value first-round picks in the NBA, in my opinion.
Yep. And the guys are going to sit 3 years anyway.
Exactly. Like the guys that I'm keeping around, Asar, because he plays great defensively. See what Ron Holland can develop into. But you're going to need someone that can potentially – take that veteran role from Tobias once Tobias goes because, he's not going to be here in the next year or two. So we'll see. But, I just hope JB can take them to the next level and doesn't, leave like he did Cleveland after developing these guys. I think he's a great coach.
Yeah. Everything Reid said, I'm piggybacking off it. No doubt about it. Whatever they do in the playoffs, I think whatever they do when they get in the playoffs, we're all just happy with what they're doing. We don't expect them to win a championship, but they're just been a fun team. They play together. They like one another. They give effort every night, which a lot of teams in this league don't do. Guys play. So it's a breath of fresh air compared with the NBA. And the NBA wonders why some of the viewership is down and why the product's not as great. Because imagine if every team played like the Pistons do with some heart. All these superstars play. They play through these nagging injuries, which if guys are hurt, if they sit out a game here or there, but sitting out 5-6 games because you don't feel like playing, or I know it's a grueling season, but guys are making them a boatload of money, but just effort from this team. Like Reid said, yes, if they can get, like I mentioned, if we can get Devin Booker, yes, I think they could even get it for 3 first in Ivy because they have no first like the next 8 years.
They have nothing there because they sold their soul for Kevin Durant and Bradley Beal.
So they'll take what they get. I feel like that's fair trade break because Devin's only 27 or 28, but that would be
27 or just turned 28.
Yeah, that would be huge. Pistons are currently down 11 right now.
And Phoenix isn't even in the play-in right now. So
yeah, they're like a game and a half out. So they don't look like they don't even want to be there. So
yeah, hopefully the Alaskan Assassin can pull something off and or maybe Cade can be like, hey, you were here for the Lions game. Like you rep Detroit all the time. You're here all the time. Like come back home. I mean.
Yeah, make a call, Cade. Come on.
The craziest story is that, and this is just a quick side story, is Devin Booker's talking about how he has always been a fan of Michigan and Michigan State basketball. He loves Tom Izzo and all this stuff. And this guy put up this meme, and he was like, I was thinking about it. He's like, Devin Booker, I thought Devin Booker went straight from high school to the league, and then I realized he played at Kentucky. He didn't even go to those other schools.
It's
true, but I don't know if they offered him or anything. I don't know his backstory on that, but Yeah, I would love to get him. And I honestly, I'm sorry, but yeah, I would trade Ivy. I mean, if I had to part way, if they were like, we want Ivy and Asar and 2 firsts, then I probably would, or a first, because I think Asar is great defensively. You probably would, but he would probably have to still do 2 firsts. But I would still send both those guys and 2 firsts for Devin Booker or Ron Holland too. And I know you got to see what he's going to develop into, but I'm willing to part with some of those guys.
I'm becoming more and more of a fan of Ron. I like his tenacity. I like the energy he plays with. He wants all the smoke. I think he's getting better and better as the season's progressing. Remember, he's only 18 years old, so still got a long way to go. But
how old is Asar? Is he 20?
20, or I think he just turned 21, maybe.
Asar is the guy. You guys know this. I've said it time and time again. Asar is the guy that I want to keep around. He just needs. He's 22. I didn't know he was even that old. But
I think he's a little older for it. I think him and his brother were a little older for their grade.
But he's a guy that he's so good defensively and he's so athletic. And I know Ron is very athletic, but I don't think he's as athletic as Asar. I don't think he's as good defensively, but he could probably develop a better offensive game, I think, than Asar could. Because Asar is probably just going to give you the defense in the mid range. You're not going to look at threes. I think Ron could develop that a little bit more. But like Adrian said, he's 18, dude. Like, that's so young. That's crazy.
Yeah, a lot of
Pistons are down right now. Oh, let's see. Oh, that's off Jordan Porter going in. Pistons are down 13 right now. Washington's 5 for 6 in this quarter on 3.
Yeah, it'll turn around. It'll be all right.
Yeah, still a lot of game left. That you gotta expect that when you play a team back to back, that second game could always get tricky for sure.
The real test is going to be, what is it, Saturday? The game that we were supposed to go to that unfortunately let down on tickets. My fault, boys.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
But yeah, they that's going to be the real test. See how they can do against OKC, because OKC is another team that's really young, and we'll see what they can do.
I don't think Jalen Williams is playing though. He's been out, so I'm not sure if he's even going to be suited up for that game. So
I don't like rooting for injuries, but that'd be huge.
Hey, I want him to play. I want to see where they're at.
Duran on Chet is just going to be bully ball. I mean, I don't know how that dude's going to even handle that guy.
That's why they brought Hartenstein in to offset Chet a little bit.
True. Jalen Duran's young too. Is he 21? He might have just turned 21.
20. I think he's 20. If he's 21, he just turned 21.
Yeah, this Pistons team, their core is just so young. Like, just getting to the playoffs this year, getting that experience, that's really the big thing for me, because obviously the two teams to beat are Cleveland and Boston, but just going there and these young guys getting experience, that's a big step in the right direction for me.
Interested to see what Trajan can do in the offseason. That's what I'm most interested to see.
Yeah, we got something to look for. Everything that we do for right now is things we can be excited about. So they have exceeded well over expectations. So we'll take it. Let's just see them in the playoffs. And actually, my goal is I just want them to at least win 1 or 2 games in a series, even if they don't win the first round, just to be like, this team's dangerous and give guys a reason why they want to come play with Cade. And then I do want to address one thing before we move off the Pistons. The shit Shaq said is asinine. That's how I know some of these older guys don't watch basketball.
What did he say? I didn't hear.
What exactly did Shaq say?
Shaq said the Pistons play a boring brand of basketball and they're not fun to watch. This is not verbatim, but and then he said this was Tuesday, and then he was talking to Candace Parker when they had the Tuesday on TNT. He said that Chauncey Billups is doing a great job coaching these guys. Didn't even thought Chauncey Billups was the coach of the Pistons. So that's just
no respect.
An idiotic answer. You don't watch the Pistons, just admit that. Your job is to watch basketball, and you're over here saying the Pistons are boring. They're not boring a brand of basketball, Shaq. And Chauncey Billups does not coach the Pistons. He coaches the Portland Trail Blazers. And Candace Parker, by the way, who's great at what she does, corrected Shaq and kind of laughed at him. It's just a slap in the face. We need to earn our respect. And the Pistons are getting a national televised game, guys, next Wednesday against the Miami Heat.
I think the thing about it that's annoying too is you say a boring brand of basketball, but is the boring brand of basketball like playing defense and not getting like sent to the free throw line every other shot? Like, I'm gonna call them out because you guys know I've been calling them out, but it's other teams that do it. But like OKC, like Shea is a very good player, MVP candidate, like coming up, but like a lot of the times he's getting sent to the line and you're seeing, you turn on, you're watching him shoot free throws, or you go and you watch like a Bucks game and you're watching Giannis. I love Giannis. He goes to the free throw line all the time. Like I don't want to see a game where guys are going to the free throw line, 10 times a game, like Philly games. Like when you would see Embiid and all that, like I don't want to see that brand of basketball. Like I want to watch like hard-nosed defensive basketball that the Pistons are playing right now. Like Beef Stew, everybody was down on him, which is understandable, but he's playing great basketball. He's like one of the most defensively efficient defensive basketball players right now. Duran, great basketball. Like, how many highlights have you seen on like ESPN has finally been posting them on Instagram of Cade just making crazy passes to Duran, crazy alley-oops to Duran, double covered, like just throwing it up like that. He's like, Duran's out there somewhere. It's like that famous like Aaron Rodgers thing where he's the Hail Mary and it's like, oh, someone's down there, they're going to catch it. Or Megatron's down there, he's going to catch it. Like, I don't know how you can say it's a boring brand of, like, how for Shaq to have the nerve to have Cade come on that one time before the All-Star game and like I love how you play basketball, you're great, like all this stuff, your Jalen Green rivalry, like, and then you're gonna sit there and you're gonna pat his back, but then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, yeah, they play boring basketball, it's not fun to watch. Like, Shaq, you're not watching the Pistons clearly, like you're watching Lakers basketball, you're watching Nuggets basketball, you're watching all these other teams, you're just not watching Pistons basketball, which I don't blame you because as a person who lives in Detroit, I can barely watch the game, so he probably isn't getting them. But like, it's not boring brand of basketball, man. Like, it's good basketball.
Yeah, I'm on the five.
It's not boring at all. Cade's a playmaker out there facilitating. Beasley dropping bombs. Hardaway's dropping bombs. Duran's an athletic sitter, catching alleys. It's not a boring brand of basketball at all. The Pistons really need to put the league on notice. The first round of the playoffs, I really hope they win that series. That'll really give them some good credibility. I really hope they win their first round series.
The last thing I was going to say on the Pistons for the offseason, when I said I want to see Trajan do something in the offseason, I think it's going to be a lot easier. You're maybe not going to get, obviously, the free agent superstar to come here, but you can get like a very good role player veteran or someone that's going to want to come and play for the Pistons if you see like they win 40-plus games this year. They go to a playoff series. Like you said, Raj, if they win that first round, like players are going to want to come here in the offseason. It's not going to be, that 14-win team from last year that we saw that nobody wanted to come play for. Like they're going to see Cade and be like, oh man, he's really good. I want to go play with him. If Ivy's back, before the playoffs or back in the playoffs, like you're going to see him playing. They're like, man, they got a good, potential off ball / on ball, number two in Ivy and young talent with Asar and Ron. Like I want to be a vet that can go out there and help those kids and teach them how to play. So it's like, I want to be a part of that. That's what I'm hoping is going to happen in the offseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe a veteran guy like Harrison Barnes or even bringing a guy like KCP back. I wouldn't be mad at that, but for sure. All right, so yeah, we got to get some NFL in here. NFL free agency. It's been a lot going on, but let's go ahead and just get it started with the Lions. So the Lions, they did cut Zadarius Smith. Guard Kevin Zeitler did leave to go sign with the Titans. Carlton Davis left to sign with the Patriots, but the Lions did replace him. They signed DJ Reid, the defensive back from the Jets. They also extended Derek Barnes, Levi Onwuzurike, and Davenport. So, Reid, where you at with the Lions? What grade would you give them so far in this free agency period? Because I'm hearing a lot of fans saying they're not liking what they're seeing, but where are you at with it?
It's not necessarily not liking what I'm seeing because I think Derek Barnes is a good guy to bring back. There was talks about him going to follow Aaron Glenn and go to the Jets. Like I think that's fine. Bringing in DJ Reid for what was it, like $15 million less than Carlton Davis got, and they're basically the same corner. I mean, you're losing like an inch or two in height, but he is still a great cornerback. The only thing that I don't like about that is you have him and Terrion Arnold now, who were 1 and 2 in pass interference calls last year, but you can clean that up. I don't mind. You still have Meek Robertson. I think that corner room is going to be fine. We'll see what Rakestraw is. Asante Samuel Jr. is still out there. I don't know how much it would cost to get him if you want to add more depth. But a lot of the free agent signings that they did were basically just like depth signings or guys that Brad Holmes, they were Brad Holmes guys that he wants to keep on the team. The thing that I don't like is you bring back Davenport, if he
I didn't like that move.
Yeah, I mean, if he plays the whole
season. I like the Lopez move.
If he plays a whole season, that's fine. Like I'll love that, but you just don't know. He's never played a full season, so it's tough to say. Like Smith, the Smith thing, I kind of get. He hasn't been re-signed. Potentially re-signed for they did it to save money. Maybe you can re-sign him on a more cash-friendly deal. But there's guys out there that Mekhi Becton's still out there for a guard position if you want to replace him. But there's talks about him getting a big deal, so I don't think they're going to sign him. You still have Mahogany and Glasgow at your guard position. So I mean, if I had to give it overall, I'd probably say like a C minus, just because it's just bringing back regular guys. I think Lopez is a depth piece, someone that they're hoping that will just cover for a little bit for McNeil while they him and Levi can sub out with each other. I think a lot of it just has to do with Brad just wanting his guys on the team, which is ultimately it could be the straw that breaks the camel's back, and we'll see what he does with the draft and what he wants to do. A lot of people were saying they want the Trey Hendrickson thing, which I would love, but now the Bengals moved their mind from a second or third round pick. Now they want a first round pick. On top of that, he wants $30 million a year. So, I mean, I wouldn't trade a first round pick and then re-sign him or then sign him to a 30 mil. He probably wants like 3 years at 30 mil each year or something like that, which I wouldn't be on board for. If you can potentially, I mean, if there was something in the air where it was like, trade your first for him and, you sign him to like a $21 million deal a year, I would think about it, but I still would be hesitant. He's 30. He did have 17.5 sacks the last 2 years. But yeah, I just don't think the free agency moves were that great. There's still guys out there you can get. I don't know. I would like another edge guy. I know they're probably going to draft one. I get it. It's deep in edge draft, but like, I would still like Zadarius Smith. Obviously, he underperformed when he was here, but now you're going to be playing opposite Aiden. Like you'll have a lot better chance to get sacks when Aiden's there. So it's something that the offseason has just not been exciting for me because they just aren't doing something that they need to do and need to address. They need to address for the last 3 years when you got Aiden. So yeah, I'd say C minus if I had to say anything.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I might give him a D plus. But yeah, just nothing exciting. I get bringing some of your guys back, but you don't bring every guy back on that team. Like you still make a splash. I like you said, I like the DJ Reid with the addition because Carlton Davis priced himself out. Good for him to go get his money. They wanted him back. What could even add a guy like Asante Samuel Jr. There's some guys out there that you can add. Be a little more aggressive, like you said. Take the trade, Hendrickson trade. I think that's still on the table if it happens during the draft day trade. Maybe the Bengals say, okay, the Lions I think would pay him, but they're not going to give up a boatload of capital for him. The Bengals are just being unreasonable. I think eventually he gets traded, rather that's to the Lions or whom not. But be a little more aggressive. I'm tired of these Brad bots. Oh, just let Brad cook. Let Brad cook. Oh, they don't need to do anything. Yes, you do. The Super Bowl window will not. You have to start paying guys and to start making decisions on J-Mo, Brian Branch, Kirby Joseph. List goes on and on. Whoever you want to pay, you can't pay. You're not going to be able to pay everybody. And if you think about the draft they had last year was very underwhelming last year. It wasn't great. I know you can't get everything right, but you have to have a good mix and blend of free agency and draft. But be aggressive. The clock is ticking. The time is hot. Take advantage of it. I'm so tired of wanting to be patient. I get we built it over time, but now you have the ability, you have the team to be capable of adding some splash to be right back in that window. Because I'm gonna tell you what, right now, the Vikings got much better. The Commanders got much better. We're gonna keep doing what Eagles do. The Rams are good. There's 5 teams I just named right there who are gonna give the Lions problems, and people just think, oh, we'll just sign every single guy we have and run it back. No, it doesn't work like that. But until these Lions fans, like I said, no offense, Reid, and I'm not saying you're like this, but Lions fans are just not used to winning and being aggressive. They don't want to take any chances. But guess what? Like I said, that window closes very, very quickly. Look at the 49ers right now. Their whole team went kaboom because now they got to pay Purdy $45 million, which is asinine to me, but we'll get to that for a different day. But just you have to take advantage of these opportunities when you get them.
A lot of things about it, too, is like Lions fans, like most Lions fans, and like I feel like it's the way that Brad thinks, is like we're trying to be here for a long time, not a good time. But like ultimately, at the end of the day, the thing that you're trying to do is go and win a Super Bowl. Like people were talking about, like I thought it was a pipe dream all along. Like I never thought it was going to happen. But like the Myles Garrett thing, like if they had to trade their 2 first-round picks to go and get Myles Garrett, and that was going to get him to be a Detroit Lion, like I get it. You're selling the farm for it, like for the most part. But look at the Rams. I mean, they sold the farm and they got Stafford and they won a Super Bowl, and they're still in a playoff position now. And they got, they just got Devontae Adams. They have players. They're still going to probably make the playoffs next year. Like they're obviously in a weaker division than we are, but it's just like Adrian said, you have guys to sign, sure, but those guys like J-Mo, you can give a 5th-year option to. Aiden, you're obviously going to sign. Kirby, you don't have to worry about signing this year. Brian Branch, you have 2 more years on. Like, you have guys, like, you can wait. Laporta, you have 2 more years on. Like, you can wait on guys. Campbell, you have 2 more years on. Like, Campbell, you have 3 because he was a first-round pick. You can, ultimately you can 5th-year option him. Like, there's options to do stuff to pay guys. We know ultimately, like, cap really isn't a real thing. Jared Goff's getting paid a bunch of money. You can restructure Jared Goff's contract to be a more, cap-friendly contract. Like, there's ways to do it. It's just like people, like, they had $56 million going into this free agency, and they've probably spent, like, they probably still have, I don't know what the numbers are exactly, but it's anywhere from 25 to 30 million if I had to guess. Like, they didn't spend a whole lot of money in free agency yet. So it's like, is Brad waiting to, wait until all these guys, to see who gets picked up in free agency and pick up the crumbs? Maybe he does that in the past, but like, you have guys like Ojolari still out there for the edge. He played great for the Giants. You had Harold Landry, who ultimately wanted to go and play with his coach, previous coach, and Mike Vrabel, which is fine. There's a few. You have Darius Smith you can bring back, like Rasul Douglas, if you want, cornerback depth. He's a free agent still. Like Asante Samuel Jr. we just mentioned. Like, you have guys that are out there that you can sign for cheaper deals, but like, I just think Brad is too worried about extending his guys, and he ultimately at the end of the day, his ego is, I want my team to be the guys that I drafted to win the Super Bowl. Which, great, that's cool. Like, yeah, you want to graduate with all your boys and go on and do great things, but at the end of the day, like, the great teams sacrifice some guys to go win stuff. Like, look at I don't say Kansas City. Like, I don't like saying to look at Kansas City because you drafted Patrick Mahomes, and he's the best quarterback since Tom Brady left the league. So, like, they're kind of an outlier, but like, you look at Philly, like, they drafted a lot of guys, sure, but they also signed guys. Like, Saquon Barkley was huge for them last season. Like, you have to sign guys to be good. The Rams, they signed Ndamukong Suh that one year. They didn't win it, but they tried. I mean, you look at they went and got Matt Stafford. Like, they do go and get guys, and they play well. Their defense, they drafted and they got rookies for defensive line. It's just, at some point, you got to put your ego in the back seat, and you have to really, like, pay to win. It's the way that this league goes.
Yeah, so we got to see how the rest of the free agency plays out for them, because I didn't like bringing Onwuzurike back, Davenport back. They let Malifonwu walk, which I think is the right move.
But he got a 1 year, $4 million deal. Like, I wouldn't be upset, like, bringing him back for that. He was a good depth guy at safety. Now, if you want to go out and you want to draft a Malachi Williams, is that his name, out of Bama? Like, if you want to go and get him, like Williams, yeah, he like you can go and get him at like safety for depth. That would be great. But like, at the end of the day, if he was good when he was healthy, and he was only unhealthy for 1 year, and then before that, you just had to figure out where you were playing him, and then he was good at safety. But it just, I wouldn't have minded that deal. I didn't mind the Derek Barnes deal that much. He's a good depth guy. Ultimately, Anzalone is going to be gone, whether they draft a middle linebacker, because Campbell's going to take over the Anzalone role. But like, at the end of the day, man, yeah, you have to spend and get some guys.
Yeah, I think with that 28th pick, they're neither going to go offensive lineman or defensive lineman. I think it's going to be one of those two positions, I believe.
I'm going to say defensive line. They did lose Zeitler, so that's a big loss, like a sneaky loss right there. But you can add a guy. Dante Fowler's available. I would possibly.
Yeah, but even then, I think you're signing a depth guy, because you still have Glasgow, and Mahogany was killing it when he filled in for Glasgow when he was hurt. So I think Mahogany is going to be a great player, and he was a guy that I was super pumped that they got in the sixth round, because he was a guy that probably would have gone in like the second or third round if he was fully healthy. He was just hurt when he got drafted. So. But yeah, I don't think offensive line is that big of a deal. I think that's like third on the priority list. I do think, like you said, if they draft like that 28 pick is either going to be whatever edge is there that's probably really good, or it'll be a defensive tackle. I think if you can get Kenneth Grant, I think would be a guy that'd be great. He might go a little earlier. Yeah, Harmon out of Oregon. I think he could be a guy that you could go get. That would be there.
Walter Nolan's a guy like
the kid out of Ohio State. No, the kid out of Ohio State.
Tyleik Williams. Tyleik Williams or JTT.
Is William? There's an offensive tackle, and then there's a defensive tackle.
Tyleik Williams is a D tackle, and Josh Simmons.
Yeah, Simmons is the offensive tackle. That's not. I'm thinking of Williams then. So if you can get one of those guys, I think Harmon and Grant would be two huge steals. Two guys that I like for edge. a lot of people are saying because he's got a bad attitude, he might drop, and I don't know if the Lions would take him. But James Pierce is a guy that I wanted since last year. But also I think Shamar Stewart out of Texas A&M I think would be a great pick for them because that dude's a freak. But those are two edge guys that I like. But yeah, ultimately I think it's going to be defensive tackle because you got to remember too, you're not going to have McNeil for the first 6 games of the season.
Probably I'd say 8 because he's a D tackle. I think
I said 6 to 8.
Back.
But
don't rush him back.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, if McNeil's not going to start the season, then okay, I can understand bringing Onwuzurike and Davenport back on that.
Calais Campbell. I mean, it's some depth. There's some guys who
I don't
care. Just
that minimum.
Sign every D tackle, any guy, edge guy off the board, and put them on your roster because
if I see tomorrow that they get if I see that they get Ojulari, then this free agency goes from a C- to probably a B+.
Okay. All right. Shout out Ack in the building. He says his San Francisco 49ers need to sign Za'Darius to a 2-year deal.
That wouldn't be a bad deal for him. I thought the other Bosa brother was going to sign with them. Said he signed with Buffalo, which I'm happy. I hate the 49ers, but
Von Miller, I'd go out and see what you could get for Von Miller. He's a free agent right now still. I mean, I know he was hurt the year before, but I mean, he's still a guy that plays at a high level. Granted, he's 30. He'll be probably 35, I think, when the season starts, something like that, or 34. But I mean, shoot, I'd still take him.
Absolutely.
I think anybody that's at an older age that was productive in the last 2 seasons with Aiden on the opposite side will be productive on this team. So Za'Darius Smith, Von Miller, and then the other guy that Adrian said, whose name I can't remember, the edge that's a free agent that's still out there. I think any one of those guys.
Dante Fowler.
Yeah, Dante Fowler. I think Fowler's 30. I think those guys would all be fine opposite of Aiden because he takes so much pressure away from you because he can garner double teams and he gets so many quarterback pressures. But I just don't know what it is. Like the first time we've seen Brad address a position of need was last year, and he drafted Terrion Arnold and Rakestraw in the first 2 rounds. But your biggest threat, like you don't need those 2 guys if you have a guy that's on the edge that is just an absolute destroyer. If you have another guy opposite of Aiden, like they don't need to play as hard. I mean, if they would have traded for Brian Burns last year before he went to the Giants, like that would have been huge. Brian Burns and Aiden on the line together would have been freaks. I would go on a tangent, but I'm off of it now.
Pistons down 3 right now, guys, with a minute 27. I haven't seen Cade this fired up in a while. He keeps going at the ref right now.
Are they in the third?
Yeah. There's a minute 20 left. 96, 93. They got the ball. So Cade's going to go for 40 tonight the way he's playing right now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, really quickly, but on that Cade thing, he goes for 40, takes this team. Let's say Milwaukee loses tonight and Indiana loses, and they go up to a 4 seed. I know it's not going to be it, but should he be in at least the top 5 talks for MVP? I'm not saying he's going to win it, but at least top 5 maybe.
I could argue it, but I don't think so. Top 10, yeah. I just think that slow start to the season kind of hurt him a little bit, but yeah, I'll take top 10 for sure.
So who are your NBA MVP frontrunners right now?
I think it's between SGA and Jokic, but I think their race should be a lot closer than people want to admit because Jokic is putting up career numbers and Denver's right behind OKC, and Denver's battled a lot of injuries this year. Well, Jokic is probably playing the best basketball of his career. He put up a 30-20-20 game last Friday night against the Phoenix Suns. That's the first time in NBA history. And like Reid said real quick, Shea gets a lot of these dummy calls, the old James Harden with the Rocket calls, where he gets, and it's well deserved, but some of these calls they're flopping. They're getting a lot of trash calls. So we'll see what happens when the playoffs come. But I would say, me personally, I'm going to go with not a hot take, but I think Jokic should win the MVP. But that's just me.
I say Jokic too, but I've been told by everybody else that it should be SGA.
Food on the stage if we say that.
Yeah, Jokic, I think it's just like a voters fatigue thing. Like you could give him, it's like Lamar Jackson in the NFL. You can give these guys the MVP pretty much every year because the numbers are always going to look good. So I personally would give it to Shea.
Got a take. Yes. The Marcus Smart or Jordan Poole just got a take. Yes, sir. Pistons down 1.
Okay, cool. All right, yeah, let's pull it back to the NFL free agency. All right, so Adrian, your Steelers, they signed Darius Slay. They did add DJ Metcalf in the trade. They signed Mason Rudolph today. So what grade would you give your Steelers so far at free agency?
And not only that, they signed Kenneth Gainwell to a 1-year deal, former running back of the Philadelphia Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles. We made the DK trade. You guys know I was texting in the group Sunday night. I was real happy. I was like, hey, we finally made an aggressive move. I was geeked. I'm like, okay, Omar Khan's finally making a big move. This franchise is starting to do something. And then we're in day 3 or 4 of free agency, and very lackluster to say the most. I'm not gonna lose my mind right now, but I'm giving us a C minus. Or I'll give him a C actually because of the DK trade. So like I said, we signed Mason Rudolph. I don't know the plan.
Hell of a quarterback room they got now. Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson.
And they're still waiting on.
Yeah, Skylar Thompson's there.
And we're still waiting on. Pistons are up 5. Still waiting on
Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, I'm sorry. I don't care at this point. Just take Mason Rudolph and it's going to be what it's going to be. I'm not waiting. But from the signings that they have made, you guys, it's letting me know that they're kind of not punting on winning a title, but punting on this year as far as getting a quarterback. They're completely sold on waiting next year to go all in on a quarterback. That's how I'm looking at it. We give Darius Slay $10 million guaranteed. I wanted Justin Fields back. I'm not going to lie, but he's getting $30 million guaranteed. I think the Steelers offered him 20. I wouldn't have given him 30 million guaranteed, so that's okay. And Mason Rudolph can actually throw the deep ball. He's fine. I'm gonna be okay. I just need a guy who can play adult quarterback in like Michigan's football quarterback room last season. So I don't need to see that from my NFL franchise. But like I said, underwhelming. Not too excited. I like the DK and George Pickens pairing. It's gonna be a very interesting season. Once Mason Rudolph gets yelled at in the huddle, so I'm maybe looking forward to it. But I will say the Steelers are taking they're trying to take like a Philadelphia Eagles approach. If you look at the roster, how they're trying to build it, offensive line, defensive line. I think they're going to probably go D-line in the first round because we need another corner. We need D-line. I still think receivers is up in the air, but they did sign Darius Slay and Jeremy Eccles from the Jets, so I think they may be set early in the draft on that. I wouldn't mind it, like you said, a Jackson Dart or even a Jalen Milroe in the second, third round, like we talked about. But you can't build everything in 1 year. But said Brandon Wellman will probably be 9-8 again, maybe 10-7. Who knows? So, but they are going to get some compensatory picks for losing Dan Moore, Najee Harris, etc. to free agency. So I'm not. The word is I'm kind of just. Not plateau. I'm just right here where you guys are at with the same thing what the Lions are doing. It's just very frustrating, very underwhelming because they have the money to spend.
Yeah, I'd give them a little bit higher than that. I'd probably say a B because of that DK trade. I think that really bolstered it, and I think the Slay signing is actually decent. I mean, it's cornerback depth. I mean, it's you have Porter Jr., that other guy who was really good last year, Adrian. Who's the other corner that they got?
That's Joey.
Yeah.
Dante Jackson, he left. He left in free agency.
Oh, did he leave? Oh, okay. Then he
went to the
Mika Fitzpatrick.
We got Deshaun Elliott, who I think was a great signing, but we still need another corner in the draft. We got Beanie Bishop, the slot guy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be. I think it was a fine offseason for them for right now. I think them like banking on the Aaron Rodgers thing though is a little dumb. I mean, Aaron Rodgers played well when he had Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. So I mean, if you sign him, I would probably say it's going to be a 10-win season because I just think he's probably better than Mason Rudolph in my opinion. But I'd probably give him a B. And then I'll go on the draft here really quickly. I think I saw something the other day that said that actually had him drafting. It was today. It was drafting Ashton Genty in the first round, which I think would be kind of big for them. But I think that they, like Adrian said, you got to get that offensive line figured out if everybody's healthy. Hopefully that they can play well. Defensive line, like you said, is probably something big. Corner, I wouldn't mind if they went after a corner in the first. I think Rebel would be a good guy. Maybe Azari Thompson would be good for them.
Perfect guy.
It all depends on what Tomlin's seeing and what their GM's seeing. So I don't think the offseason or their free agency was that bad. I think that they also just play in such a hard division. I think it's probably the second best division next to the NFC North. So as far as quarterback goes, I don't know if I would go for Milrow. I would probably go for Dart, but Dart you would have to probably. I don't think reach because I think his pro day is going to push him up into the first round. I think he'll be a back. I think he'll be 15 and lower in the first round. So I mean they have 21, I believe, right? So you could probably draft him at 21. It just depends on how confident you would be having him. I think he could be a great quarterback to have, especially if you have DK and Pickens. See where Roman Wilson's at. Maybe he decides to show up this season, but we don't know. And then it's deep at defensive line this year. Defensive line's deep. Edge is real deep in this draft. So you can see what they got, but I just think that they're just in a tough spot to do the division so hard.
They got that's a really good receiving core with Metcalf, Pickens, Roman Wilson in the slot, Freiermuth at tight end. Yeah, if you can get a formidable quarterback in there, I'm sure you're probably going to add another running back in the draft. You got Gainwell, you got Warren. Get another running back in the draft. I mean, they got a good offense. You just need a quarterback.
I'm more so to this. Like, I don't even like taking a quarterback in this year's draft. I don't even care. Maybe take a flyer on Tyler Shuck if stock doesn't keep rising. But I'm just sold at this point. Just wait till next year to get the elite quarterback because I'm tired of having. I am tired of look, guys. You've realized the quarterbacks that we have had since Ben Roethlisberger has retired. We had Duck Hodges. Come on now. We had Mason Rudolph, Mitchell Trubisky. I could go on. Justin Fields wasn't bad. Russ was solid, but just can't keep doing it. You got to find a way to get our franchise quarterback and just. I'm at the point now. Just build this roster up as best as you can. Load it up with talent, and then get the quarterback in there next year. But I am pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that they go D-line because they did cut Daryl Gajobi. Cam Hayward getting older. I like Keanu Benton, but he needs to play more 3 technique because he's not as rugged and physical in the middle, but he plays well on the outside of the tackle in the guard. Still got Highsmith and T.J. Watt. I like what they have there, Nick Herbig on the outside, but I just think build the trenches up because that will win you games. And like I said, the scores are not going to be pretty. Like you said, we can get a running back. I wouldn't mind the Ashton City pick, but I think it's loaded as they are at running back.
Breaking news. Adrian, what are you going to give the Lions for Hendon Hooker? They just because the Lions just signed Kyle Allen. So they might trade him. Lions just signed Kyle Allen as their backup quarterback from the Steelers. He was on the Steelers last year. They just signed Kyle Allen. So maybe Hendon Hooker's on the trade block. Would you trade for Hendon?
No. I would trade for Joe. I would trade actually for Joe Milton or Malik Willis before I would trade for Hendon Hooker.
I don't know about Malik, maybe Joe, but Bazooka Joe would be sweet, but not. I would.
Yeah, but until then we can wait. I'm more convinced. Like I said, just build this roster up as best you can next year and go load up on the capital and go get you an elite franchise guy next season because can't keep playing against Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow with us playing quarterback guys. It can't happen.
Yeah, I'm surprised AG didn't go after Hooker, but ultimately he did get Justin Fields. So what you think about that, Reid? Was getting rid of Aaron Rodgers and bringing in Justin Fields is Justin Fields a clear upgrade over Aaron Rodgers at this point in his career?
So my problem with it is I think he is an upgrade. I think he'll be good. The offensive line just stinks. If I'm the Jets, personally, I'm just sticking with Tyrod Taylor. He plays well every time he goes somewhere, but people just for some reason sleep on him so much. Like he's been good every time he goes somewhere. Before he got his lung puncture with the Chargers, he was playing well. When he came in for Aaron Rodgers last season for a few games, he played really well. Granted, it was garbage time, but I think Tyrod Taylor would still be a serviceable guy for the Jets for a year at least. But they went out and they got Justin Fields. They need to go into this draft addressing the offensive line, probably get another receiver because they got nothing other than Garrett Wilson. I think they need to probably address another corner, but we'll see. I think he's an upgrade, especially mobility wise from Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I agreed. I think it's a good fit. I think it helps AG. They could put Justin Fields on the center, run some play action. He's really good with that, and run the football. They got elite players at skill positions, so I think I think AG knows what he's doing. I think it's good for them thus far.
All right, cool. So last thing, Adrian, Sam Darnold went to the Seahawks. Does Sam Darnold have the same success he did with Minnesota last year with Seattle this upcoming season?
I think he'll be solid, but no, they don't have the weaponry that Minnesota had. I will tell you though, one thing about Seattle that's very, very sneaky. They have who do have as their head coach, formerly defensive coordinator with the Baltimore Ravens and Michigan defensive coordinator Mike McDonald. He loves defense. Seattle's going to load up on defense and win some games, probably 23-17. Got Smith and Jigba. I think Cooper Kupp was one of the favorite teams to land with the Seahawks. He's a West Coast guy from Washington, so I think that's probably going to happen. I think he'll be okay, but having the same success as he did with the Minnesota Vikings, no. Kevin O'Connell is a mastermind when it comes to offense. I think Sam Darnold will be solid though. Can he maybe have a resurgence like a Baker Mayfield? That's possible, but I definitely think Baker's still better.
Yeah, I agree with everything Adrian said. I don't think he'll have as good as a year. Maybe if DK was still there, he probably would have a similar year, but I don't think anymore. The thing that really tickles me is that DeMarcus Lawrence left Dallas to go play at Houston because he said he didn't think he was going to win with Dallas, and then he decided to go to Seattle. So yeah, I think that's a funny move on his part. But yeah, I think Sam Darnold will be okay because that division is not great. But I don't think he's going to have the year he had last year. I could see like a Geno year when Geno first got to Seattle. That first year he was there, you'll see like 3,500 yards, probably like 22 touchdowns and like 10 interceptions, something like that.
Okay,
yeah,
cool.
Great.
All right, well, yeah, that was all I had. So update on the Pistons game before we get up out of here.
105-107 Pistons up with 8:12 left. It's gonna be a shootout. It's one of those games coming down to the wire.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I'm gonna go check the rest of that out. So, anything else you guys want to add before we get up out of here?
Go Tar Heels, beat Duke tomorrow, please.
Go Spartans.
Yes, sir. I'm from Michigan State. I wanted to do well. So.
Absolutely. All right. So, sports update. Make sure y'all subscribe to the channel. Make sure y'all like the video, and we will see y'all next week. Peace.
Peace.